Palms at Crown on Friday night, I saw something called Mystique. Now, does the name Michael Boyd mean anything to you, Dave, or not?
Yeah, he was a guest on my show this week.
Ah, very good. Okay. So,
and same with me last week on my show as well.
Oh, good. Okay, well, terrific. Well, you guys can talk about this because I haven't interviewed him. He went a long way in Australia's Got Talent. I think that was the program.
Yep.
Back, I think it was the seventh. Was it the 7th? 2013. That's my recollection. Anyway, having said that, it was a sold-out show he had only 2 shows, on Friday night and Saturday night. That's really something to sell out Palms at Crown. I mean, I presume he'll come back. I know he's going to Sydney, he mentioned, in September. But his appearances, his disappearances, his reappearances, absolutely captivating. And he's this illusionist whose top-line acts are slick and seamless. He draws people of all ages, and there's a couple of volunteers that he calls up on the stage. They are children, right? He asks for a particular age group. But adults are just as mesmerised by some of these things that he manages to do. I mean, to give you an idea of his repertoire, it includes piercings. Now, that's my representation. You've got a blade, large knives, sticks seemingly slicing through the poor unfortunate that's trapped inside this sort of receptacle of some description, but they emerge, of course, unscathed. And then there's levitation, there's sleight of hand, and Boyd attributes his magical roots to his grandfather, a guy called Stanley Boyd, who was a magician. And he practiced, well, he was involved in shows in the early 1930s and 40s. Did he talk to either of you about that?
Yes, yeah. He talked to me a lot about his past and where his interest in magic came from being handed down from generation to generation.
I mean, I think it's pretty damn tough earning a living as a magician unless, there's not too many David Copperfields out there. I know that we love magic, but there's also a magic festival, isn't there, once a year here in Melbourne, from recollection, isn't there?
Yeah, and I was just going to say, it's on in a couple of weeks' time, and if you get the chance, go and see a magician called Josh Staley. He is absolutely fantastic. I've seen so many of his shows, and he always does intimate shows, which makes it even more spectacular because you know that magic has just been done in front of you, but you cannot work out how he has done the trick.
Josh Staley.
Staley.
And that's like when I was over in Vegas, in the old Vegas town there, they've got street magicians working in the streets there, and they do all these fantastic tricks. And it's obviously there's no wires or anything there because it's out in the open, surrounded by a lot of people there, but it's still fantastic to watch how they do some of those tricks, and they get the audience involvement in it.
That's great.
I like watching that kind of stuff.
Yeah, likewise. I mean, there's something. It's almost like you're a kid again. You sort of open mouthed and you just. I mean, bear in mind that what this guy does, Michael Boyd, is these tricks go from small to large and impactful. And when I'm talking about small, for example, something that he attributes to his grandfather, a small box and a red handkerchief, as simple as that, right? And there's this young girl involved in that routine. There's you know this one, the 3 silver rings that should never join, right? But they do, and that's many magicians do that sort of thing. Then he does something with a brown paper bag and a bottle of Coke, and the Coke evaporates, right? I mean, one of the things that he probably, I know this sounds silly, this was small, but I loved it. He rips up paper, and then all of a sudden, this paper gets put into, what remains gets stuck into a glass, like a drinking glass of water. And the next thing you know, it's turned into cascading confetti. That really is something. So something like you'd see at a wedding, just sort of cascading down. That was terrific. And the levitation I love. I know that he does like a hula hoop over the woman that rises and floats, and he rises and floats. It's great. You got. I think the Palms at Crown holds somewhere upwards of 800 people. So I reckon we were all sort of taken aback when that sort of thing happens. There's another bloke that passes through Michael Boyd's splayed body, which is held firm by this impressive-looking device that seems like it'd be at home in a house of horrors. And the show finishes with this sort of fearsome-looking mechanical scorpion that appears ready to dismember him. So the one thing I should say, though, is that some of this stuff, when I'm describing it, might sound scary. But fear not, I did not get the feeling that even the younger children in the audience were scared. Rather, they, like me, were left asking, how did he do that? So, and even modern technology plays a part here, because Boyd calls upon Siri, the thing that you get on the iPhone, to show we punters a magic trick. And that's a lot of fun too. And have you seen the one where he can foretell the future? When he asks 3 members of the assembled a question each, and surely he can't know what they're going to say, and yet hanging from the ceiling is a small padlocked box. And in that box, yep, you guessed it, the answers. That you might have seen that before. Have you, Greg? Have you seen that?
Only on film and television, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, and again, talking about technology, the show starts with impact. Techno music plays as a couple of dancers take to the stage as lit up neon robots. And in fact, dancing is part of Mystique, which is, by the way, it's about 80 minutes plus 20-minute interval, so it doesn't go for very long, but it's certainly impactful. There's dancers in different guises. They're an important part of the repertoire. Belly dancers, the Orient, showgirls all feature, which are interspersed with the magical acts. What else did you learn from the conversation with him, Greg? What else did he tell you that I haven't mentioned?
Well, we've talked a little bit about he goes to magic conventions in Las Vegas, and all these musicians get together to exchange ideas and talk and everything. And I was surprised there is a community of magicians there, because I thought magicians weren't supposed to tell their secrets to anybody, but apparently there's a community that works together to help other magicians and develop tricks and encourage young talent.
I think that's fantastic. Do we know, sort of Dave or Greg, do we have any idea of how many musicians there are in Australia? How many earn a full-time living out of this? Surely there wouldn't be that many.
I don't know, but I having both Michael and Josh on my show this week, I also learnt that in Los Angeles, there's a very, very unique club in a mansion that is only accessible for magicians that have been accepted by this kind of league of magicians. And Josh is actually one of the very few Australian magicians that has been made a member. And basically they can go there and go inside and sit down, like Greg said, and talk to other magicians and swap tricks and swap trades. But they also do their shows in front of each other before they do it to an audience as well, to get feedback and things like that. And it was like, when he was telling me about it, I'm thinking, wow, that's like something out of Doctor Strange, like this mansion that's just for this league of magicians. It's an amazing world when you get to know it more about it.
What was the movie, by the way? There are a couple of movies about magicians in relatively recent years that were quite impressive, quite imposing. Does the name come to either of you?
Yeah, You See Me.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one, yeah. Great. Well, look,
with Michael Caine and Morgan Freeman and Jesse Eisenberg.
That's the one. That's the one. Yeah. And what was the sequel called? That same title too, wasn't it?
Yeah, that had Daniel Radcliffe in it too, I think.
Yeah, playing a magician. Yeah.
Yeah.
Once again, what was the name? Now You See Me.
Now You See Me.
Yeah, Now You See Me. Okay. The other thing that I mentioned that we would talk about, and we're almost out of time. So